The Absolute Being is the revered god and the source of all events in solo leveling. He is best known for creating both the Monarchs and the Rulers. However, in the current timeline, the Absolute Being is no longer alive. He was betrayed and defeated by his own creations, or so the story goes. In the distant past, when the world consisted only of light and darkness, the Absolute Being shattered the era of nothingness. He divided the light to create the messengers of God, and split the darkness to form the Monarchs. His goal was simple. He did it all for his own entertainment and satisfaction. The Absolute Being programmed the Monarchs to destroy the world, while the messengers, better known as the Rulers or Fragments of Light, were tasked with protecting it. The two factions fight for years, creating a never-ending war for their god's enjoyment. As a nearly omnipotent entity, the Absolute Being could create anything from nothing. This power is most evident in the creation of the Monarchs and Rulers, but he also forged otherworldly objects. Perhaps the most notable example is the Cup of Reincarnation, an artifact capable of rewinding time. The Absolute Being never intended for the war to end. He demanded worship, praise, and unwavering faith from his creations. But over time, the Rulers realized that peace could never exist as long as the Absolute Being remained. This realization sparked a rebellion, and the Absolute Being was ultimately overthrown by the rest of the Rulers. The Rulers were once loyal messengers of the Absolute Being. They turned against their creator during the Great Rebellion, and now stand as sworn enemies of the Monarchs. The Rulers have since tried to protect the world and humanity from the destruction by the Monarchs. With the Absolute Being's death and the balance of power shifting in their favor, they saw an opportunity to end the endless war. They hunted the Monarchs one by one, and even succeeded in capturing the Monarch of the Beginning alive. Unfortunately, the rest of the Monarchs managed to escape through the rifts between dimensions. From there, they began plotting humanity's destruction. Their plan is to wipe out humanity, rebuild their armies, and seek revenge on the Rulers. What the Rulers didn't know at the time was what stance the Shadow Monarch, once called the greatest fragment of light, would take. The Rulers tried to apologize to the Shadow Monarch for their role in killing the Absolute Being. They attempted to bring him to their side, but the Shadow Monarch remained undecided. Instead, he withdrew from the conflict and focused on rebuilding his Shadow Army without giving a clear response to his former allies. One interesting fact about the Rulers is their dedication to side with humans. For years, the Rulers have been locked in another endless fight against the Monarchs. This time, their goal is to prevent humanity's extinction. Despite their efforts, the Rulers faced repeated failures, which led them to use the Cup of Reincarnation to rewind time and try again multiple times. However, they failed to realize that humanity's extinction was inevitable, regardless of whether they won against the Monarchs or not. When the Rulers realized that the Cup of Reincarnation was beginning to wear out, they decided to resort to their final option. They opened the gates and exposed humanity to the existence of magical beasts. This allowed humans to gain a limited amount of mana and magic, enabling them to survive the effects of the war between the Rulers and the Monarchs. The Rulers also chose 7 individuals from around the world and bestowed their powers upon them. An intriguing aspect of the Rulers is their reliance on vessels. The Rulers and their armies possess exceptional combat skills that let them fight the Monarchs on equal or even higher terms. However, they cannot descend to the human realm without borrowing a human body. Even then, they struggle to fully exert their powers when using their vessels. Despite these limitations, the individuals chosen as vessels receive immense power, which makes them the strongest hunters in the world. Some of the most well-known vessels include Liu Zigong, Christopher Reed, and Thomas Andre, who are among the most popular characters in the series. In fact, all national-level hunters in solo leveling are vessels of the Rulers. This includes the 3 mentioned above, as well as Siddharth Bachchan, the strongest hunter in India. Another notable vessel is Go Gun-hee, the chairman of the Korean Hunters Association. Arguably, the vessel that contributed most to the Rulers was Jin Woo's father, Sung Lee Hwan. At one point, the Rulers ordered him to eliminate the Shadow Monarch's vessel. However, Hwan failed his mission when he discovered that the vessel was none other than his own son, whom he had abandoned for many years. Fortunately, the Rulers chose to ally with Jin Wu and ordered Li Huan to protect him instead. This shift in allegiance strengthened the Rulers' relationship with Jin Wu. They later supported him in defeating the Monarch of Destruction and even allowed Jin Wu to use the last drop of the Cup of Reincarnation. Starting off the list of Monarchs is Baran, the Demon King and Monarch of White Flames. Baran was one of the Monarchs who fought alongside the Shadow Monarch against the Rulers. Interestingly, Raan is the only monarch not alive during Jinwoo's timeline. Unlike the others, he couldn't escape through the dimensional cracks, as he was killed by the Shadow Monarch even before that. Raan possessed immense strength, exceptional durability, and speed that made him a formidable fighter. As the King of Demons, he could use the skill Hell's Army to summon his entire demon army through portals. His soldiers include elite warriors from noble demon clans, such as the Radiru family, to which Issel belongs. These soldiers were strong enough to rival the original Shadow Monarch's army. Jinwoo himself has acknowledged them as equivalent to A-rank monsters. Raaan's signature ability allowed him to unleash streams of lightning capable of stunning opponents. His power stood out even among the monarchs, as he was one of those chosen by Antares to eliminate the Shadow Monarch. Raan is a bold and ruthless leader who never backs down from a fight, even against stronger foes like the Shadow Monarch. However, in terms of power, Raan is significantly weaker. This became clear when, even after joining forces with the Beast Monarch, he couldn't defeat the Shadow Monarch. During the war with the rulers, Raan chose to betray the Shadow Monarch rather than end the war alongside him. This betrayal was a turning point, as it ultimately cost the monarchs their chance at victory. In his final moments, Raan refused to explain his reasons for betraying the Shadow Monarch. When questioned, he merely laughed and left cryptic words that neither the Shadow Monarch nor readers could fully understand. Raan met his end at the hands of the Shadow Monarch. Later, a clone of him was created by Kandairu, also known as the Architect, to serve as the final boss of the system. Centuries later, Raaan's clone appeared as the boss of the 100th floor. Unlike the original, the clone had glowing red eyes and did not wear demonic head armor. It also wielded a powerful wyvern named Kaiselin as its mount. One of the clone's most impressive moments came when it unleashed a devastating lightning breath to crush Jinwoo's shadow army. This attack summoned powerful lightning strikes that rained down over a wide area. It could also be focused on a single target, as seen during its battle with Jin Wu on the 100th floor. Quera, the Monarch of Plagues, is one of the most fearsome beings in solo leveling. She wields terrifying powers that allow her to spread diseases and unleash venomous toxins that can instantly eliminate enemies. Quera loves battle, particularly moments when she can finally devour her prey. When the Monarch of Frost proposed defeating Jin Wu before he fully became the Shadow Monarch, Quera was among the first to join. She was curious when she heard that Jin Wu used poison on his dagger, a tactic the original Shadow Monarch would never have used. To her, this was proof that Jin Wu could still be defeated. However, her main motivation was likely curiosity about what another monarch might taste like. Quera possesses some overpowered abilities, befitting her title as the Queen of Insects. She can produce venomous toxins from her body and regenerate instantly, no matter how severe her injuries are. This is shown when Jin Wu splits her in half during their battle. However, her regeneration has limits, as she can't stop Jin Wu from crushing her for good. Quera is also a skilled necromancer. She can transform corpses into her servants by infesting them with parasites. Her primary offensive ability involves using enormous mana-formed hands to attack her enemies. These hands, created through her exceptional mana manipulation, makes Quera an irritating opponent to deal with. One of her most hype moments is when she uses spiritual body manifestation to restrain Biru. Quera's powers are enhanced when she fully transforms into her stronger form. In this state, she becomes an insect-like monster with numerous limbs and a swarm of insects that she can use as weapons. What makes Quera particularly interesting is her motherly instincts towards insects and insect-like creatures, including Biru and Jinwoo's Shadow Ant army. She refers to them as her children, and even considers herself their mother despite being their enemy. Quera is fiercely protective of her authority over all insects within the world of chaos. However, Quera is equally unforgiving. She won't tolerate bad behaviors and will punish those who insult or disobey her without hesitation. Real quick, before we dive into the most powerful gods and monarchs in solo leveling, like Ashborn, Jinwoo, and the mysterious monarch of the beginning, if you're enjoying this solo leveling content, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Now, let's jump back in. Raan, the Monarch of Fangs, is one of the most dangerous characters in solo leveling. He's known for his overwhelming strength and appearance, which highlights his figure as the king of the beasts. Raan possesses immense speed and durability, which makes him a hard opponent to deal with. These abilities allowed him to defeat Thomas Andre and nearly take down both him and Lennart Nierman at the same time. His high-level defenses enabled him to withstand powerful attacks, including a complete form of Thomas Andre's strike and a kick from Jin Wu. It wasn't as high though, as he got completely crushed by Jin Wu later on. Like Quera, Raan has regenerative abilities that help him endure prolonged battles. His spiritual body manifestation lets him transform into a massive white wolf, significantly enhancing his combat capabilities. Raan can also partially transform his body, as seen in his fight against Thomas Andre, where he changed only his arms and hair into their beastly form. Raan is an apex predator. Even Baek Yun-ho, an S-rank hunter and the guildmaster of the White Tiger Guild, was no match before his presence. Personality-wise, Raan is a battle-hungry warrior who loves to dominate his enemies. Interestingly, Raan was the first to agree to help the Ice Monarch eliminate Jin Wu before his power fully awakened. His aggressive personality makes him arguably the most terrifying, even among other monarchs. Unfortunately, Raan's arrogance is what led to his downfall. One of the most contradictory traits about Raan is his cowardice. He won't hesitate to call other monarchs cowards, but also won't think twice about fleeing when a fight turns against him. This hypocrisy is shown twice in the series. During his fight against Jinwoo, Raan quickly decides to give up upon sensing that the Monarch of Shadows is approaching. This decision of his stems from his awareness of how powerful the Monarch of Shadows really is. This brings us back to Baran's betrayal of the Shadow Monarch. Back then, Raan and his army were with Baran to eliminate the Shadow Monarch. But after being defeated, Raan instantly fled the battlefield and left Baran. For Raan, ensuring his survival is the top priority. One of Raan's most memorable moments comes from when he begs Jinwoo for his life. His instincts tell him to bow to Jinwoo and offer help in fighting the King of Dragons. However, his true plan was to buy time and team up with the King of Dragons to defeat Jinwoo. But Jinwoo only mocked him and never intended to let him live. Raan tried to fight back, but Jinwoo easily destroyed him. Despite his defeat, Raan was able to leave behind a descendant named Gray, who is now the successor to the Beast Monarch. Interestingly, Gray is now an ally of Sun Jinwoo's son. Liia is the king of the giants and the monarch of the beginning. He is one of the most mysterious monarchs in solo leveling. His true strength remains unknown because he has been sealed away since the end of the ruler's Great Rebellion. Liia is the hidden boss of the Tokyo S-rank gate that ended the life of Yuri Orlov, a Russian S-rank hunter. Liia was trapped in a dungeon and was sealed by the rulers many years ago. His permanent restriction is made possible by the high-level mana-absorbing chains used to capture him. Not much is known about Liia's offensive abilities. As the King of Giants, Liia possessed extraordinary physical strength capable of overpowering most opponents. He also has a unique spell called Pledge of Trust, which binds him and another person to a contract where neither could lie to the other. He uses this to manipulate and gain Jinwoo's trust so that he can finally be freed. Liia is an extremely cunning character. At some point, Jinwoo wasn't too knowledgeable about monarchs and rulers. When Liia noticed it, he immediately offered to ally with him in exchange for being unchained. However, Liia had no intention of siding with humans. The Essence Stone, embedded on the back of his neck, constantly urges him to destroy mankind. Liia also has a dark sense of humor. This is evident when he laughs maniacally after sensing another monarch discovering him in his sealed state. He found it ironic and amusing since it was the rulers who had trapped him in the first place. Tarnok is the monarch of the Iron Body and the king of monsters. Among all the monarchs in solo leveling, he is arguably the most egotistical and overconfident. Tarnok has a deep hatred for humans. He repeatedly considers Jinwoo unworthy of becoming the Shadow Monarch solely because of his race. But unlike Raan and Quera, Tarnok doesn't underestimate Jinwoo's strength or potential. He strongly opposed the Monarch of Frost's plan to eliminate Jinwoo earlier than intended. Tarnok was the first monarch to refuse to join the plan. He believes that facing the Shadow Monarch without the Monarch of Destruction was a reckless move. He was proven right, as the three monarchs who followed through with the Monarch of Frost's plan ultimately met their doom. Tarnok possesses exceptional combat ability that gives him the confidence to crush even Thomas Andre. He commands an army of monstrous humanoids that can challenge average to high-level hunters. His signature ability, the Iron Body technique, enhances his physical durability to near invincible levels. One of Tarnok's most hyped moments is when he transforms into his complete golem form to fight Thomas Andre and Jinwoo's Shadow Army. Using his spiritual body manifestation, he becomes a towering armored golem with flaming lime green hair, a form that showcases his immense power. Tarnok can also use telepathy to communicate with other monarchs. He attempted to use this ability during battle with Thomas Andre to coordinate with the Monarch of Destruction. But Tusk interfered with the connection. He refused to let Tarnok relay the situation to the Monarch of Destruction. For Tarnok, Jinwoo's strategy is too human, something he absolutely despises. He believed that the original Shadow Monarch would never have resorted to such methods. In the end, Tarnok was no match against the combined strength of Biru, Belian, and Thomas. Scyld, the Monarch of Frost, is known for being a cunning strategist. He's often the mastermind behind many of the Monarch's plans to eliminate Jin Wu, making him one of the most dangerous enemies. Scyld is the King of Snow, folks. He appears as an elderly elf with a common design somewhat similar to the ice elves Jinwoo fought in the early stages of the story. Scyld is responsible for several major tragedies throughout the series. One of his most memorable moments is when he trapped Go-Gun-Hee and ended his life. Among the Monarchs, Scyld is perhaps the most anxious about the Shadow Monarch's return. His prideful personality prevented him from waiting for the Monarch of Destruction's return, and he hastily tried to bring Jinwoo down before it was too late. If possible, Scyld wants to avoid unnecessary conflicts. During the Jeju Island raid, Scyld chose to simply put the humans he encountered to sleep instead of completely getting rid of them. Scyld's control over ice magic is unparalleled. He can summon massive ice storms, create weapons and monsters from ice, and freeze entire areas with ease. One of his signature moves, Ice Breath, allows him to shoot freezing blasts to immobilize his enemies. When Scyld activates his spiritual body manifestation, he transforms into a younger, more powerful version of himself with glowing hair and sharper elf-like features. This form boosts his speed, strength, and durability, making him an even more formidable opponent. Physically, Scyld was incredibly strong. He wields a trident as his main weapon, and uses his exceptional ice magic to keep up with powerful opponents like Jin Wu and his father. One of his most impressive moves is his Meteor of Ice. Scyld can summon a huge destructive blast that can destroy the entire area. He came close to defeating Jinwoo and Hwan with his ability. Unfortunately for him, Biru was fast enough to crush the meteor before it could hit them. Even in his last moments, Scyld's determination stands out. Unlike the cowardly Raan, Scyld refuses to run away and chooses to complete his mission until the very end. Yogun is the Monarch of Transfiguration and the King of Demonic Specters. He shares similarities with Tarnok in their views about humans and decisions on whether to help Scyld or not. Yogun had a lot of pride and looked down on humans. He sees them as weak and unworthy of his attention, which is evident when he first encounters Hwan. He dismissed Hwan as a weakling and, along with Scyld, easily escaped his attempt to bring them down. Despite his arrogance, Yogun wasn't reckless. He knew his limits and avoided direct confrontations with strong opponents like Jin Wu without proper backup. Like Tarnok, he chooses to wait for the Monarch of Destruction's arrival before engaging in large-scale combat. One lesser-known fact about Yogun is that he was primarily assigned to the eastern side of the world. He was among the first to learn about the Shadow Monarch's vessel being in South Korea and informed Scyld about Go-Gun-Hee being a ruler's vessel. He was also the first monarch to learn about the ruler's plan to free Liia through the Tokyo S-rank gate. Yogun played a crucial role in Antares' plan during the battle against Jin Wu. He was responsible for opening countless portals to summon soldiers from Antares' dragon army. Unfortunately for him, Jinwoo's dragon roar rendered all of those useless as it immobilized not just the dragons but also Yogun. In the end, Yogun is hunted down by Jin Wu, who comes to the dimensional rift to defeat all the monarchs once again after using the last drop of the Cup of Reincarnation. Antares is the only monarch Jin Wu couldn't defeat on his first attempt in the original timeline. Known as the Monarch of Destruction and the King of Dragons, Antares is the strongest and oldest of all the monarchs. What sets Antares apart is that he's the only monarch who could rival the Shadow Monarch. Long ago, the two joined forces to fight against the rulers, nearly ending the war. However, Antares grows fearful of the Shadow Monarch's power and sets a trap to eliminate him. He ordered Baron and Raan to take him down, but they failed, and the rest is history. Antares' power was unmatched. However, it is also the exact reason he struggled to find a perfect vessel. This delayed his descent into the human world, forcing the other monarchs to wait for him before making major moves. As the King of Dragons, Antares wields incredible strength and destructive abilities. His signature fire breath can incinerate everything in its path. This devastating ability claimed the life of Jay Mills, an S-rank hunter who ranked 17th in the world. Antares has complete mastery over fire magic. He can summon massive explosions and wield flames as lethal weapons. His spiritual body manifestation lets him transform into a massive red dragon. In his partial form, Antares appears reptilian, with snake-like eyes and thick armor. Like Jin Wu, he can unleash an even more powerful version of Dragon Roar, which paralyzes its enemies by filling them with panic and despair. As the Monarch of Destruction, Antares thrived on chaos. He appears confident and calm, knowing that only a few could challenge his strength. Like most monarchs, Antares looked down on humanity and didn't hesitate to destroy millions to achieve his goal. But Antares also had a sense of honor. He respects strength and acknowledges powerful opponents like Jin Wu. He even offered to spare humanity if Jin Wu agreed to join him in fighting against the rulers. However, Jin Wu has no intention of joining hands with the monster. This leads to Antares to choose destruction instead, unaware that Jin Wu has a secret plan. Antares wasn't defeated by Jin Wu. Instead, he was slain by the ruler's army, who arrived on the scene. Their battle had distorted the space and infused it with enormous amounts of energy that enabled the rulers to descend in their original forms. Antares met his end at the hands of the ruler's spears. After the use of the Cup of Reincarnation and rewinding time, Antares respawned and fought Jin Wu once again. Ashborn, the King of the Dead and the original Monarch of Shadows, is arguably one of the most powerful beings in the solo leveling universe. Not only was he the strongest of the rulers, but he was also known as the greatest fragment of brilliant light. As a Shadow Monarch, Ashborn is a muscular man in jet black armor wielding a dark sword. His radiant purple hair and curved black horns make him truly stand out. In his ruler form, Ashborn appeared as a majestic white knight with large white wings. Ashborn had a deep respect for life and humanity. Despite his immense power, he yearned for peace and despised the never-ending violence. Among the brilliant fragments of light, he was probably the one who wanted to end the war the most. Ashborn remained loyal to the Absolute Being, even after learning that the Absolute Being created them just for his entertainment. Despite this, Ashborn fought alone to protect him from the other rulers. In the end, Ashborn is defeated, but he eventually awakens the power that the Absolute Being has hidden within him. Ashborn's abilities reflected his status as the Shadow Monarch and a former ruler. He had the power to raise fallen beings as loyal shadow soldiers and masterfully manipulate shadows to create weapons, armor, and cloaks. His power allowed him to teleport instantly through shadows. One of his most hype abilities, Monarch's Domain, enhances his army's strength with a reliable buff effect. Ashborn's identity as a former ruler gives him the ability to use the ruler's authority, allowing him to control or crush objects with telekinesis. Ashborn's strength is so unmatched that he becomes a threat to both rulers and monarchs. When the rulers sealed Liia, Ashborn chose to align with the monarchs to even up the power balance. But with Raan and Rhaan's betrayal and the near annihilation of his army, Ashborn goes to hide and rebuild his forces. Later on, he eventually rejoined sides with the rulers. Additionally, Ashborn can bestow his power to others. Like Antares, however, his immense power makes it difficult for him to find a human strong enough to be his vessel. This leads Ashborn to form an alliance with Kandiru. Kandiru agreed to find a suitable human vessel for Ashborn in exchange for immortality. Together, they created the System, a program designed as a game to help prepare a person to become Ashborn's vessel. In the early stages of the story, the System selects Jin Wu as its player. Throughout the series, Ashborn clearly shows his intention to pass on his role to Jin Wu. At one point, he reveals the history of the monarchs, rulers, and the Absolute Being to him. He even offers Jin Wu the choice to live peacefully in an illusionary world or return to reality to continue fighting. While Kandiru wants Ashborn to take control of Jin Wu's body, Ashborn has different plans. He intends to entrust his powers to Jin Wu as his true vessel. Sung Jin Wu is the human Ashborn chose as his successor to become the Shadow Monarch. He is the vessel to whom Ashborn entrusts both his ambitions and his power, with the ultimate goal of ending the endless war once and for all. Jinwoo began as the weakest E-rank hunter with no special skills or fancy equipment. His strength began to grow exponentially when he stumbled upon a double dungeon and was chosen as the system's player. Through countless battles and quests, Jinwoo transformed from a powerless hunter into the strongest being in existence. The system allowed Jin Wu to develop at an incredible rate, enhancing his strength, speed, durability, and combat skills to superhuman levels. As the second Shadow Monarch, he gained abilities similar to Ashborn's. He can use Shadow Extraction to turn fallen enemies into Shadow Soldiers, and activate Shadow Exchange to teleport instantly by using them as portals. Jinwoo can also wield the ruler's authority, just like Ashborn did. Aside from his active skills, Jinwoo also has useful abilities like stealth, memory manipulation, impressive healing, and mastery over dagger weapons. His hand-to-hand combat skills are so refined that he can easily surpass even high-ranking hunters like Thomas. Later in the series, Jinwoo also gains Kamish's Wrath, a pair of daggers given to him by Thomas. These stats and skills allow Jinwoo to defeat even the powerful monarchs with ages of battle experience. Jinwoo's most notable advantage in battles is his Legion of Shadow soldiers. His army includes skilled warriors like Igris and Biru, and the addition of Ashborne's original army, including Bellion, makes it even stronger. They are capable of fighting against or even overpowering some of the monarchs. Despite becoming the Shadow Monarch, Jinwoo never wavered in his commitment to protecting humanity. He joined forces with the rulers in his first battle against Antares, mainly because they shared the goal of preventing humanity's extinction. Even though Jinwoo and the rulers won against the monarchs, he wasn't satisfied with the result. He lost too many people and wanted to bring them back. With the ruler's permission, Jinwoo used the Cup of Reincarnation to reset the world once again. Over the next 27 years, he battled the monarchs in the Dimensional Rift and defeated them all. This time, he easily crushed Antares. Since then, Jinwoo has been living happily in a peaceful world. He enjoyed life, saved his friends from tragic fates, and even had a child with Hunter Chai Hei-hin. Unfortunately, the Itarims, a race of outer gods like the Absolute Being, posed a threat that forced him to leave his family behind. Now Jinwoo is in outer space, protecting Earth from the Itarims' invasion. And that's a wrap on the most powerful gods and monarchs in solo leveling. Which god or monarch do you think had the most influence on the story? Or is there someone whose backstory you're especially curious about? Let me know in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching, and if you want more content like this, click on the video on your screen now.